Hi people, welcome to Kat's Intuition. I am Krystal Kat and I thank you for joining me. I have been recently doing the 10 days of crystal, which is going over all the gifts that my mother is gifting me on each day leading up into my birthday to May 10th. But I feel like I have to say I am interrupting that broadcast to bring you Tarot Nuages. I don't know how to pronounce that, so that's just how I'm saying it. Did I need this deck? No. I have more than enough decks. Even though I have a very modest collection, and my mother has been gifting me decks, but there is a specific reason as to why I wanted this deck, and I knew it that I had to have it as soon as I just discovered this deck. I mean, I've seen the pictures of it, but I didn't really like the first image right off the bat, so I'm like, no. But I saw that this is well, let me just tell you, it's a land in the clouds. So I'll read this to you briefly. The faraway town of Nuages, in the land of clouds, has its own culture, creatures, traditions, and tarot. Tarot Nuages pays tribute to Marseille-style tarot with some antique elements, but it also embraces a modern, playful spirit with goblins, penguins, pixies, gargoyles, and animated mushrooms inhibiting the minor arcana. Yes, you heard me right. I did say penguins. That is like, what? The major arcana introduces a pantheon of demigods and higher powered personalities that will lead readers through an unforgettable tarot journey. Includes 79 cards and a 64-page booklet. So it seems we get a little extra card, and I'm interested in seeing what that is. Here's the box. We have a two-part like pull away box, and it has nice thumb holes, which we can all appreciate. Here's the side. So it's simple. It's a simple box. I really like it though. Here's the book. I will go over this really brief. I'm not going to spend much time on it, but yep, it is a US Games Systems published deck. And this is brand new to me. I haven't gone through many of the cards yet. I just wanted to take all the plastic off so we didn't hear that in the video. So it says, welcome to Nuages. I kind of feel like I want to read that. Let's go through it really quick. In the town of Nuages, towers and palaces rise up from the clouds in the sky. Strange legends are told of the different creatures and people who live here. Nuages has its own culture and nobility and its own mythical creatures, monsters, and demigods. Based on early 16th century Western Europe, the town was placed between the world and another far away. Since then, it developed in its own unique way, having few and rare visitors from other worlds. The town of Nuages has its own tarot deck, with its traditions and its inhabitants depicted in the cards. The deck continues the tradition of Tarot of Marseille, having taken it as the source of inspiration since the times when the town was a part of our world. Through the ages, the odd creatures have found their places in the tarot, becoming minions of the different suits. The Wands suit connected with the fire element. It's followed by eager goblins and spirits of fire called imps. The chalices or cups, whose element is water, attract penguins, creatures of ocean and ice, and tender fairy pixies. So right there it does like briefly touch on penguins and why they chose them, because they're the water creatures of ocean and water. But that is just so funny to me. Like, I feel like these two people were trying to come up with a deck, and the one guy was like, hey, let's do a deck and let's incorporate goblins and imps and pixies and gargoyles, and let's throw in some penguins. And the other guy's like, wait, what? Like, the phone is breaking up. Did you say penguins? And the other guy didn't really hear exactly what he said, but he was so excited. He's just like, yeah, let's just do it. So the guy's like, well, okay. And he goes and creates the deck and then shows the other guy the deck. And that guy is like loving everything until he comes to penguins. And he's like, dude, why are there penguins in this deck? So see, I have like this whole funny conversation in my head that went down between these two, completely made up in my crazy head story. And he's like, you said to do penguins. And the guy's going to be like, why would I say penguins? We're dealing with pixies and goblins and gargoyles. And yeah, so, oh my goodness. Okay, anyways, so Ocean and Ice and Tender Fairy Pixies. It just gets me. The suit of swords and the air element is illustrated by grim, ponderous creatures that inhabit the upper floors and rooftops of Nuages. These are the warlike and enduring gargoyles. And the coins, referring to the earth element and productivity, became associated with mushrooms and bees. The mushroom part is kind of weird because they called them animated mushrooms. Okay, so I'm not going to get into all of that. I just wanted to give you just a brief breakdown that they do talk about this world. It's not just like some other decks where they just, this is the art that the author chose to go with, and so there you have it. No, they have, this kind of reminds me how they're coming up with their own world. It reminds me of my Tarot of Cat People deck, and I know I've referenced this a lot, but it's just because this is my soul deck. I'm in love with it. Also, if you're interested in these tarot bags, you can tie a bow like I had it, or you can just do like wraparounds. I have them available in my Etsy shop under Cat's Intuition. You can message me if you're interested in a certain color. If I have it, I can do it for you. So this deck, the reason I'm bringing it out is to say that this deck, the author went into great detail in the big book talking about the land that she created for these people. And she even goes to talking about each of the, she talks about the major specifically, and then she talks about each suit in the minors and how each suit comes from their own tribe of people, and they all have their own ways of doing things. And so, yeah, that is what this deck is making me think of, just reading that brief part. So, okay. So, yeah, so that I'm not going to read all of that, but I do see that it says some images in the Rider-Waite deck. So they're pulling in all that inspiration, and then we have what says the major arcana here, and we get into the Fool. So no pictures in this book, okay? So the major, it looks like they just give you a pretty good write-up. Okay, so they give you a write-up, and they give you the meaning and the reverse meaning. If you read reversals, they have that in there for you. So they give you a good bit. So here you can see on one page like what they would be giving you for one card. And then let's look at the minors and see if we get the same bit. So Two of Chalices, you get a little write-up, meaning, and reverse. So not as much, but you still get something even for the minors, and that's good. They aren't forgotten. All right, so let's get into this deck, and I will get into the story as to why I had to have this deck and what it means to me. Here are the backs. We'll go over that briefly. I am not a fan of the backs, honestly. I think it would have been really cool to have like a castle sitting in the clouds, or one of the characters or something in the clouds, since that's what it's talking about, a land in the clouds. But yeah, I mean, I like orange and I like black, so yeah, just they're kind of bleh, you know. Let's compare size before we really get into it. This is also a US Games deck, so let's see. Oh, they are substantially taller than my... How am I out of screen so much? They are substantially taller than a typical tarot deck. I would say that this is very typical, standard US Games published deck. But yeah, as you can see, the entire border up here is over, and it's a little bit wider even. So yeah, and yeah, I would say it's about the same cardstock, maybe a little bit thinner, but typical US Games cardstock. Okay, so let's get into it, and I'm not going to go too in depth with the images that we see here. I'm just going to talk about why I felt, or why I needed to get this deck. So Here we have the Fool. I will say real quick, the little pig dog thing here is weird. That's his companion. He looks like a very determined fool, though. You know, I mean, he's taking steps with big strides, and he's got his arm up, like, yeah, let's do this in a face of determination here, with his little pig dog companion. Yeah, looks like he's walking on clouds, actually. So, oh, also, if you like the pointers that you see in my videos, you can find them in my mother's Etsy shop. I'll be sure to link that down below. Her Etsy is Just a Few Designs if you are interested. She has different, not just Halloween based ones. Okay, so when I heard that this deck was centered around a place in the clouds and or this kingdom in the clouds, my mind immediately went to a story that my dad and I were telling. So this was many years back too. Many years back, like, gosh, 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, something like that. He would come and pick me up from my house, and we would go to a park to walk around. And while we were walking, we would create little stories, or we would play little word games, you know, things like that as we were walking. And one of the things that we did was we would create a story, like on the spot, and I would start, and then he would fill in, kind of like say, okay, once upon a time, there was this kingdom up in the sky. And I would stop there. And then he would start. And he would say a few sentences. And then I, you know, and it would go back and forth. And that right there is the story we were talking about. I started a kingdom in the sky story. And the story got really funny, and then it got like violent in some parts, and this deck took me immediately to that. And when I saw that it was this town in the sky, I just thought, oh my gosh, I have to have that. And yeah, I love it. And we've always had this thing about how we both love castles, and we always spoke about how we would design our castle and the different wings that we would have and the rooms that we would have. And he always said that if we had a castle, I definitely needed like tons of land because I want to save like all the animals. So he's like, you would have your own zoo. And yes, I would. I wonder where that card, I want to see what the extra card is. I'm getting anxious. Okay, so I wanted to find the card, the extra card, to see what it was. I didn't want to wait, and here it is. It's called The Town. So I love that. And see, look, a castle in the clouds. Wouldn't that image have been such a nice image to go on the back? I really wish that that was the backing. Oh, it would make it perfect. It would make it perfect. Okay, so that was the extra card. So yes, he was like, you know, we would need, this is giving total 300 vibes. I mean, all the way, even down to, oh my gosh, what is his name? I know his name. The big bad one that comes up, and all the people and monsters, as they called them, which were just like their elephants and rhinos and things, were pulling his big, huge throne thing. Oh, I can't remember it, but it'll come to me. Yeah. Oh my God, all the way vibes for him. All the way. Like, he's even in a robe and very elaborate here, being pulled by these two beasties here. I love it. Okay. Yes, so he was like, you would need so much land surrounding our castle because you would want a zoo, and I would want all this different land so that I could dedicate spots to different kind of animals, and I want to save like all of the greyhounds and just yeah. So that's a funny hermit. Maybe he has spent too much time alone. That's right. The hermit card is one of my favorite cards to look at, but he it's funny. It's good. This deck, it's kind of comical. And I like that. So that was the basis of this, and This is nice. So I've been seeing a lot of worms lately. I did the flip through of the Midnight Magic tarot of mushrooms that I was gifted on. I think she gave it to me on day 2. And that had a lot of worms in it. So I just feel like I've seen a lot of worms. That's a nice Wheel of Fortune. You could say tarot or Torah. Or I think there's another one that, oh, look at the eye. The eye is what we saw on the High Priestess on her book. That book is making me think Hocus Pocus. Book, right? Okay, so rotor? Is it rotor? Something like that for the Wheel of Fortune. So I really like the sun. Love it. Love all the clouds. Love how pointy and sharp these drawings are. So, yeah. But so that's the story that we would talk about. So that's what immediately made me want this deck. And then the fact that he came and got me was a big deal too, and meant a lot, because back in that time frame, I wasn't doing so well. I was in a bad kind of way. I was falling into a very heavy depression. Oh, look at this death card. He's taking a rest. I don't think I've ever seen a death card sitting down, other than on a horse though, right? But he's inside. He's like, I need a break from all of you. Oh, I love that death card. Okay, I had to pause real quick. My son just got home from school and I cannot remember what I was saying. Oh, I really love this death card that he was just like chilling. Strength. Oh, okay. Instead of 1 foot out, we have both feet in the water. She is all in, pouring her crazy colored liquid from one vase to the other. So anyways, he did it because he felt he had to, like, not that he had to, but okay, I'll just say he was worried for me, as both my parents were, and in this deck the penguins kind of made me think of my mom because she loves penguins. But I was in a dark place with a very toxic person. Appropriate timing for the devil to come in here. We have 3 images here for our devil card. And yeah, he looks very pleased with himself over how miserable he is making these 3 figures down here at the bottom. He looks very, very pleased. And he is huge, so this devil is terrifying for many reasons. Very dramatic. I mean, usually our tarot cards, we expect them to be, our tower card, we expect them to be dramatic, right? But this one is like, oh my god. So it's being struck by lightning. The top is coming off. We have our figures falling out here, but look at the bottom. There was just no surviving this at all. These people are falling and they are waiting for them at the bottom with open arms and open mouth. It's crazy. So let's look and see what kind of write-up they give us in the book, just briefly. I'm not going to read it for all the cards, but I would like to see if it touches on the symbolism in the deck. What am I looking for? Oh, tower. Okay. A lightning bolt from the dark low clouds falls upon the tower, knocking off its top, which is similar to a crown. Yes, it is. Looks very much like a crown. The tower is burning from the inside, as well as it is surrounded with flames from which fiendish beings howl and flail their arms. People who once were safe at the top of the tower are now on their way down into the fire and agony. This image is referring to the Tower of Babel, and at the same time depicts a fall from the top of the social hierarchy into the pit below. Whoa, okay. Meaning. So that was just the write-up. So where it goes into describing what you see in the picture, and then they give you meaning. So the meaning that they have here is crushing of plans, ruin, loss, falling down from any progress. There is an opinion that if the tower shows up in the beginning of a spread, that's all. The spread ends, and it means no good outcomes. Otherwise, the tower card can be understood as a warning to remain cautious and prepare for the worst. even if everything seems fine. So, yeah, and then it tells you the reverse meaning. So that is the kind of information that you can expect from the little book, which I think is pretty good. It gives you a nice description of the card, and I like when artists do that, when they actually describe what is going on in the card, and it helps you understand why they chose that imagery that they did, or that scene to depict the meaning of that card. So that's really nice. With our star, she's looking up with such admiration at that star. A little mushroom coming up here. Well, little, huge, being that it's almost the same size as our tree. I like that. Ooh, that's a pretty moon card. With our pig dogs. It just looks like a pig. Let me get it up close so you can see. Doesn't it look like a pig? Like the one in the fold really looked like a pig. That one doesn't so much, but that one does. Like our two towers here that we usually see. Just a really pretty moon. This one's very calm, very tranquil. I like it. I love the vast environment down here. I mean, scenery that you have going on in the back. Very nice. Oh, our sun card. We have two figures here rejoicing. I like that it is not a naked baby. Yeah. He looks like, you guys, calm down. Doesn't he? I like that. Our judgment card. Wow, okay. They are really blowing that trumpet, aren't they? See their cheeks? You don't see wings, but we get the, he's coming from the clouds. And people or creatures are coming out of their tombstones or their graves down below. Not out of their tombstones, out of their graves. Oh, look at the world. Yes, we have like a Taurus and like a Leo. The Leo has 4 eyes like we saw in Strength. We have a big bird up here in a winged figure. And she's holding her 2 wands very proudly. Our Ace of Wands, very typical ace here. I like it though, the hand coming out of the clouds, presenting us with the main suit. So anyways, I was saying I was in a pretty dark place. I was in a very bad marriage. Unfortunately, the person was extremely toxic. I didn't know at the time exactly what I was dealing with. I was dealing with a narcissist, and I didn't understand that at the time. I just didn't know, and leaving was not an option for me. They were my high school sweetheart. I was leaving just wasn't an option. All right. Okay, so this is going to sound a little broken up story-wise because I just had to pause. But anyways, I do believe that I was talking about that leaving that environment, that marriage, wasn't an option to me. It wasn't even a thought. I just, that's the one I married. That's the one I was going to tough things out with. Yeah, so it's like I was, like I came to terms with that was the way my life was going to go, but not really. I guess that's bad wording. I didn't really come to terms with it because I was miserable in it, but I was. Okay, so when you're in something and you're living it, even when, no matter how bad it is, but you're living it day to day, that is your norm. It's bad, but you don't know how bad it truly is. And that's what I was in the midst of. I already suffer horribly from or with chronic fatigue. It's awful. It's been ever since I was little. And so I was already dealing with that. But put on top of that a horrible environment living with a narcissist and depression kicking in, it was hard for me to get out of bed. Like, I did everything for my son, but once he went to school, I was in the bed. It was really awful, and it was showing. It started to get to where I couldn't even keep it hidden, and I am not one to complain. If I'm going through a hard time, you won't know it until it just gets like so overwhelmingly bad that you see it on my outside, you know. But I don't ask for help. So, like, fast forward, once I left my now ex-husband, once I left him, and I started kind of telling stories that came up here and there, explaining to my mother what was going on. She was upset with me that I was going through all of that and never told her anything, because my mom is my best friend. And my mom and dad were just like, what and why, Krystal, why? And it's just like, well, that was my life. You know, that was my husband. We had a child together. I wanted that to work with every part of me. But so I don't ask for help. I actually walked on a severely broken foot for 2 weeks before my mother saw that the swelling wasn't going down and the bruising wasn't going away, and said, "Oh my God, Krystal, I'm not doing this anymore. You are going to a doctor." And the doctor, okay, who does that for a living, deals with breaks, said that it was one of the worst breaks he had ever seen. So I was like, oh my God. And so that sounds dumb, but I have a high pain tolerance apparently, but that's how far, like, I don't ask for help. I just try to deal with things. And that can be detrimental. I like this knight card. I usually really like to see horses in my knight cards, but yeah, I like this. So anyways, it started to get to where it was hard to hide how miserable I was. And little things did get brought up, not so much about my marriage, but that I was seeming to fall into this depression. And her hair gives me Medusa feels. It looks like I wouldn't be able to talk to her without focusing on her hair. Like, I just wouldn't be able to focus on her. It looks like her hair would have this whole life of its own and be moving around, and me staring at her hair while she's trying to tell me what's what. But wow, I didn't expect this deck to bring up all of this, actually. This is probably a lot of info that now I don't know if I'm even gonna want to post this video. Started out as a happy memory. Honestly, it was a happy memory when I first saw this, about the whole, you know, the clouds and the castle in the clouds and that story with my dad. But yeah, I guess in explaining that is how we got here. You do not understand how hard it is living with a narcissist until you are in it. And the crazy thing is that I didn't even know that he was that way. And it sounds weird because you're thinking, well, how do you not know? How do you not know that this is going on? How do you not know that they're fucking with your head? How? And it's just, because it starts so minute. My cat is playing under my feet. Sorry if you hear that. The things start so minute. You know, oh, here we are in the cups with the penguins. That's still so funny to me. I'm shaking a bit. This is quite more emotional than I think. It goes along with, I also try to be kind of, not tough, but, you know, I keep my emotions in check. And when this topic comes up, it just affects me. Anyways, a narcissist has this way of really creeping up on you and messing with you fully, emotionally, mentally, and it starts coming out physically. And you don't notice. You don't, because it's just little things here and there that whenever you love this person and you think that they love you too, you think, oh, well, it's just these little things. I can change this, or I can deal with that, or I'll just let them have their way on this little thing because it seems so small at first, but it really isn't. It's not small things. And if you are living in that kind of environment, I am very sorry, and I hope that there is a way out. Because I remember the day that the veil started to lift from my eyes about or towards, I don't know how to word that, towards how he was being and what I was dealing with. And he said something so hateful one day, not so much hateful, manipulative. He said something so manipulative one day that I don't know, it's just like this veil just raised, and I was looking at him, and it's like he had a different face. The way I saw him just changed, and I was like, what the hell? Why is he saying this? Like, why is he trying to do that right now? And then it just you start questioning yourself, like, oh my God, is this what he's been doing all along? And I just haven't seen it. How have I not seen it? But I was so young when I got with him, you know. We were high school sweethearts, like I said. This 8 of Cups, yeah, I would definitely walk away from those cups too. That's a lot of craziness going on. I would definitely walk away from these cups. Those are some crazy looking cups. Oh my gosh, so I had to stop again. This video is so, kind of fits, right? But anyways, okay, so no, I do remember what I was talking about. Here's our 9 of Cups. I was just so very little. I was just a baby, you know, good Lord, 15. I met him when I was 14. We started dating when we were 15. I moved in with him when I was 18. And yeah, so I mean, it's tough. It is so tough. And again, you do not know what it's like. You can't even begin to understand. Like, you can hear it, but whenever you live it, it's hell. You're in hell. He did some horrible things, and when I would voice that, you know, what you're doing is wrong, or this really affects me, this upsets me, he would turn it on me and try to play it as I was crazy or I was oversensitive, and these were big things, like big marital issues, and he would just, oh, look at our knight again. Very nice. He just always put it on me. It was always me, never him. He never did any wrong. Therefore, I never heard the words, I'm sorry for blah, 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 because of course he wouldn't apologize. He never does any wrong, right? In his eyes, he does no wrong. He's always right. If he does something that hurts your feelings, it's not because he did something. It's because you are too sensitive. You don't know how to joke, or you are just too uptight about things, or whatever. But yet, it was okay whenever he got upset and whenever he didn't agree with something or whatever. And on top of that, he had anger issues. And when I would, again, leaving was not an option. So all I ever saw was working on my marriage, right? So I would talk to him, and because no one can fix a problem unless they know there's something there, right? So I never just expected him to read my mind. I never assumed. Anyways, I would talk to him, and I was like, look, if you need to, like, talk to someone about maybe anger management, and I would try to tell him, like, look, this is getting really out of control. It's getting out of hand. And he would literally walk up and get in my face and laugh at me, full on laugh at me. And then he would walk away and turn around. Like, I see it in my mind. It was so dramatic. He would turn around and he would be like, well, maybe I need to treat you worse so you can see how good you have it. Like, what? That just, your wife, the woman you claim to love, is coming to you trying to talk to you about some pretty hard, not hard, a pretty big topic, right? And that's your comeback. So yeah, saying all of that, not, okay, I am not doing this as a woe is me type thing. As I already said, I don't like people knowing about my problems, and this is in the past. This is 7-8 years ago that I left him. So I'm not doing this as a woe is me. I'm just, I didn't even have intentions of even getting into this. you know, I saw this deck. I thought about our fun castle game story. It wasn't a castle game, but our story game, and we came up with a castle in the sky. We both like castles. It was a castle in the clouds, so I thought, oh wow, this deck is perfect. I have to have it because it's reminiscent of that time, and it was something so sweet. He went out of his way to drive to my house to pick me up, and the whole point of that was to get me out of the bed. I don't even think I've said that one little part. Earlier I touched on how it was hard for me to even get up, because once my son was at school, I don't have the words. It was just hard to get out of bed. Like, I didn't have the energy to literally do anything, and they started noticing, and I quit putting makeup on. I was little things, right? But my mother, who knows me so well, we are best friends, and she started noticing when I wasn't able to keep this hidden. So I finally said, yeah, you know what, I'm struggling with depression here lately, and not being able to get out of bed. My mom was not able to come, so my dad, he had more flexibility. He owns a company, and so he was actually able to take time out of his day, and he would come and get me. And oh, look at that. Those are I didn't even see that at first. Those are fingers. It looks like a hand, like going like this. Do you see? There's a hand up there and a hand down there. So, oh my gosh, so ridiculous. So he would drive over. He would pick me up. We would drive to the park, and it was a nice park. It had a nice paved little walkway that would go around the outskirts of the whole park. So it was really nice. So I was getting my fresh air, my vitamin D with the sun, and just getting out and moving. And he was like, yeah, I'm getting you, we're doing this. And the conversations were so nice and light, and I didn't talk about any of this, because like I said, I kept it all to myself. And so it was nice to be able to just be silly and talk about all these little things and do our little word games, and goodness, I am sorry. I did not expect to get emotional. It's so very weird. Look at our knights. Look at, he's got a gargoyle up there. So, walking through this has been really nice, because obviously it's released some stuff that I guess I find it dumb that we don't have control over our minds. I can still be upset about this, and it's ridiculous. Like, it happened so long ago. But clearly I needed to let out a few tears, right? And I used to beat myself up over this kind of stuff, but I'm not doing that now. It is what it is. So it's nice sitting and looking at these, and because it brings up both a happy time and not happy time. Happy time with my dad, and I've never forgot that little story we created with the castle and the clouds, and then the fact that we both like castles. And I love this hand holding this big, happy, very earthy with the leaves pentacle, right? I really like that. But so now my thought is, like, when I'm upset, I do not mess with my tarot decks. Oh, look. So here's a nod to the Marseille. You know how they said they had some Marseille style stuff? So this says made by Needman, U.S. Game System. Is that the author? Yeah. So by Needman. Assuming the G is silent. Needman. I do not mess with my cards or do readings or, handle my cards while I am upset, as I am now, or angry or anything. If I'm a certain way that is different from just balanced and nice, I don't mess with my cards. But because I don't want to put that energy into them. I have such a great rapport. I have a strong bond with all of my cards. They are amazing. They never let me down. They always give me accurate readings, and I love my bond with my cards. I love them. They love me. So all of that to say that here's our weird mushrooms. Now that's the only thing that I can deal with some funky looking creatures, but these mushrooms, they're just ugly. They're not even nice weird, in my opinion. So that's the only thing that I don't like, but I do like the bees. Oh my gosh, those are bees. These are the bees. They're like dog bees. Don't they look like dogs? But okay, so I like this deck for many reasons. I like that it makes me laugh, it makes me giggle because they are humorous cards. But what I was saying all that about was that I don't mess with my cards. If I'm like that, if I'm sad or whatever, but with this deck, I think this deck is going to change that for me. I think this is going to be a deck that no matter what mood I am in, I'm going to pick this one up. So if I want to do a reading and I'm not in my, as I mentioned, whatever you want to call it, balanced zone or neutral place or clear-headed or whatever, this is going to be the deck that I go to. This is going to be, I like how each pentacle is different. There's that eye. They like to put the single eye on a lot of things. There's those bees again, dog bees. I wonder if they talk about that in the book. But I could do without the mushroom faces. I wish they would have drew them differently. I don't like those at all. But other than that, I do like it. I like that now I have a deck that I can come to if I'm not doing okay. If I have, because when you have been through some hard times, things pop up in your mind, whether you want them to or not, whether it's been 8 years, it doesn't matter. If you were mistreated, if you have been, and this went on for a very long time, this is not just 1 or 2 incidences, okay, that I can't let go of, or no, it's nothing like that. This was years and years of trauma to my emotional well-being, to my mental well-being, and I mean that very literally. I'm not being dramatic at all. This was extremely, extremely tough. Okay, these mushrooms, I would not trust them because of their faces. I just do not like the mushrooms. Love them though. So if you've been through tough times, especially repetitive, where that was your life and that's what you lived, and it really messed you up, you can be in the happiest, most beautiful mood and have flashbacks out of nowhere. And that's what happens with me, and I absolutely hate it. And I used to get very mad with myself because I was like, you know what, this happened so long ago, why is this still popping up? And all it did was beat myself up more, and I had been beat up enough. I don't need that, right? So I don't beat myself up anymore. And to say that during that time I wouldn't reach for my cards, even if maybe I felt like I just wanted to, even just to sit down and shuffle them, just to escape, because my tarot cards can provide that for me. Even if I'm not doing a reading for myself, or trying to figure out a certain question, I may just like to sit down. It's just a bonding thing. I just like to sit down with them, get quiet, and just shuffle, just feeling them in my hands, but I never wanted to do that because, as I mentioned, you know, I don't want to mess with them while I'm all like emotional or upset or whatever. But this deck, I am going to do that with. This is going to be the deck that I think that I will pull cards for, even if I'm upset, like do a daily read. I really like how some people will do journal prompts with their cards, and I've done that, but I've only done it, again, if I'm not upset about anything, and so that's leaving a lot of avoidance during that whole time when I'm not okay. So when I'm not okay, I can still come and sit down and do my journal prompts and be mad and just give myself that moment to feel the feels and be mad. And no matter if it happened 8 years ago or not, it's a part of me. Unfortunately, it happened. It's, you know, so now I feel like I'm just rambling, but yeah, so that's my reasoning for buying this deck. I guess it's both good and both bad, right? I love the color palette. Everything about this deck really fits that type of mood. It's not overly colorful, but it also isn't overly dark. Like, let's say the Black Tarot. I just did an in-depth, you know, walkthrough of that one. But I think that was day 3 of gifts in the 10 days of Krystal. But everything about this deck is perfect for what I'm now going to be using it for, and I've never used a deck in that way to kind of guide me while I am upset. But yeah, now tell me what you think. Okay, wouldn't that have been an absolute gorgeous card back? Right? I mean, come on, that would have been perfect. A very busy card back, right? But still amazing. And even if it was just one of the castles, but in the clouds, like that, just blown up for the back, oh, that would have been beautiful. Instead of, I'm just really not digging the backs of these cards. But anyway, so they are, I don't know why all of a sudden I can't get focused on the screen. They are not overly glossy, but they're also not matte. They have, I don't know, see right there, but you really have to find the light to give the reflection, and I like that. So as we said, they were taller cards than your normal cardstock, but I do not, let me zoom out just a little. Okay. I do not riffle or bridge shuffle, so I cannot speak on how this deck would work in that instance. But I do, as you see, overhand my cards, and I don't have very big hands. I actually have fat fingers. I've always had, at my skinniest, I've always had chubby fingers, and I hate it. But it shuffles really nicely. Being that they are not rose petal, they still don't slip though. I mean, they don't stick together at all. It's that nice US Games cardstock. They're a little bit slippery, I guess, as you can see. But I mean, I'm never doing that, right, with my cards on the table. You can shuffle them just fine. They're not going all over the place. It's not like you can't hold them. And they actually are not too long to where it's hard to get a hold of. And I like that. I wish they were a little bit skinnier, though, because I have found that I kind of am drawn to, like, the skinnier, taller cards for some reason. And being that these are taller, it gives that illusion of being a taller, skinnier card without actually being skinny at all. It's actually wider, if you will remember, than a standard tarot, but because they're taller, it kind of gives that illusion, and I do like that. So they shuffle amazing. I really like them. Let's lace them out so we can look and see what it would look like in like a reading, in a spread, so you can just see them all laid out. All right. Oh, got one of those nice nights. Of course, now we're going to get into the glare. All right. My 300 chariot that just, I can't remember his names now. And I know his name. It's there, but I can't remember it. Okay, let's try to get some other cards in here to go with our pentacles. Oh, the sun. I pulled a major on a major. There's the moon. Are we going to get the star? Yep. This did not shuffle at all. This is why before I do a reading, I shuffle the hell out of the cards. Like, crazy. So that I know that I don't have any. Yeah, let's throw down some cups. There's no cups. So this is going to be a very monotone type deck to read with. As you see, there's many cards laid out, but they're all looking the same, even with different suits, even with majors and minors. The only difference between our majors being that we do have the Roman numeral, up at the top. So we have kind of like, so there's no borders except those. So we kind of have the two going on there with the majors, and the minors just have the one at the bottom. So I'm not big on the color yellow. Yellow is not one of my favorite colors, but yellow does seem to be a very prominent color in this deck. But I like the way it was done. It really doesn't bother me at all. It seems to add a little bit of sunlight to what is going to be a very heavy deck for me. Obviously, I have come to find. This is going to be, could be an emotional deck. This is going to be my friend in the dark, which is unusual because I've never really used my decks that way. So, there you have it. This was the Tarot Nuage, or Tarot Nuages. Nuages? I don't know. I guess I should have Googled that before I started trying to pronounce the name of this deck. So, I'm sorry for the times I got a little bit emotional there. That's weird. That's not my thing. I don't do that in videos. But, yeah, I just wanted to share why. Ooh, that's bad glare. So, see, you are going to get glare. But, I mean, that's right under my light. But here, you see, they're not bad. I forgot what I was even saying. I just wanted to share why I really wanted this deck, which was coming from a really happy memory, a happy place at first. So, yeah, thank you so much, and I hope that you will give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you feel so drawn to do so, so that you can be alerted to videos in the future. Nothing but love, guys. Bye.